everybody. I'm Kelly Bean with Bean There Sold That Villa Home. Welcome to our video series. This is actually video number 4 in our Realtor and Mortgage Broker series. Please go to YouTube channel Bean There Sold That to support us and see the other videos. Sometimes buyers have misconceptions and questions about loans, and the reason I have Brooke Alvarez with Traditions Mortgage here today is to ask questions about those misconceptions. We want to take a minute to touch base. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. So I'm going to jump right into it. We've got a lot of questions and a lot to talk about. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what are special loan programs or financial assistance programs that are sometimes available for first-time home buyers?
So, when you're a first-time home buyer, there are different programs and plans now. For the longest time, it kind of almost was a marketing term to get people interested into buying a home and to help kind of ease first-time home buyers into the process so that they didn't feel overwhelmed and to feel prepared and ready. But when you're a first-time home buyer, there are programs that allow you to have lower down payments. So on conventional, as a first-time home buyer, you can put 3% down as opposed to the 5% or the 20% down. To go FHA, anybody can go FHA, but the great thing about FHA is it does only allow 3.5% down. And that's what's really great for first-time home buyers is that lower down payment option. On top of lower down payment options, we've also got down payment assistance programs. And so in the state of Texas, there's really lots of programs. And so it can be overwhelming when it comes to the down payment assistance programs because there are so many out there. There are the state level ones, there are the like regional level ones that are offered to all states. And then each community also usually has some. So sometimes it's your county, sometimes it's your city. It's just very dependent upon where you're located specifically in Texas. Um, but knowing that there's a lot of options out there, that's why it's always best to contact your realtor and your mortgage broker so that we can help walk you through those options for which ones are out there for you specifically and then which one would be the best for you. Because what happens when you get down payment assistance is instead of you needing that 3% or that 3.5%, you get either a grant or you have the option of a second lien, but you get the money to cover your down payment assistance. Now, you still need earnest money and closing costs, but sometimes there are ways to take care of that too. But the most important thing to talk about today is as a first-time home buyer, you've got options with lower down payments, and then you've also got access to down payment assistance programs that will help cover that down payment for you.
So then why would buying be better instead of renting? Why, or should I say, why is buying instead of renting a smart long-term investment for first-time home buyers?
So, as a first-time home buyer, there's tax incentives or there's financial perks. But most importantly, the difference between renting and buying is going to be the equity that you gain in your home. So when you rent, say your rent is $1,000 a month, you 100% that $1,000 goes to your landlord. And most of the time, it's actually probably paying their mortgage payment. But most importantly, you don't ever get any of that $1,000 back, ever. Like you write your rent check, you give it away, and it's gone. But when you're buying a house, part of your mortgage payment goes to pay down your principal balance. So I'm going to use numbers for simplicity. This is not an actual scenario, but just simple numbers for people to understand.
Okay.
So if you buy a house at 200,000 and each month you're paying money to bring that principal balance of that $200,000 loan down and say in, 3 years, Then you only owe 180,000, but then you get to sell your home for 230,000. You have equity from 180 to 230 that you get to decide what to do with. You can either cash out, refinance it, you can sell your home to upgrade to your next one. But the biggest part of paying for a mortgage is that you're paying into your home and you have the opportunity to get that money back out in different forms as time goes on and homes appreciate.
So you mentioned something about tax incentives. What would be some of the tax incentives for first-time home buyers?
So this one kind of changes from time to time because the tax incentives are based off of your tax bracket, and they're also based off of what the tax code is every year, and that always changes. But at sometimes you can deduct the mortgage insurance and your property taxes, which reduces your financial liability on your income tax, which means you then have to pay in less to the government when that deduction is allowed to happen. And so it's a huge benefit because you don't get that when paying rent. That's never an option to utilize that when you're paying in rent. But when you have a mortgage, and I preface it because this doesn't happen all the time, because that they kind of come and go with allowing that tax deduction, but it is very common and does happen more often than not to be able to reduce your income tax liability every year based off of your mortgage insurance and property taxes that you're paying in. The one tax incentives that is always around and that the state of Texas has, it's called a mortgage credit certificate. And when you've got the mortgage credit certificate, it essentially allows you to reduce your federal income taxes that you also pay every year. And so that's another great program that's available to first-time home buyers that's not available to other people.
So, with that said, what do you think are some of the misconceptions that first-time home buyers have for the whole mortgage process?
The biggest thing still is at 20% down. So many people think that they have to have 20% down, and that is just not the case. And even if you're not a first-time home buyer, there's still lower than 20% down options. But most importantly, for a first-time home buyer, knowing that you can literally buy a house with 3% or 3.5% down, or with utilizing one of the down payment assistance programs. You don't have to take 5 to 10 years trying to save all of this money when there's programs out there that you can utilize to help get your foot in the door. Because I think that's the other part that happens is people sometimes when they start buying a house, especially in today's social media world, they want these big extravagant homes that they see on TikTok and on Instagram. But what people have to realize is to get to that point, people had to start off with their first time home. When you go buy as a first time home buyer, when you buy your home, you are not buying your forever home. You might keep that home for different reasons, but it is not going to be your forever home. And that's like learning to know, like you get to these homes that they have on TikTok and Instagram because you start with one house, you build that equity that you wouldn't build while you're renting. And then when it's time for you to upgrade to the bigger house, you sell your house, you take the equity from that, and you put an even larger down payment on your next house. So then you get the bigger house, but then you also still get a lower payment on that because you've put more money down on the second house that you buy.
So it's kind of like saving money. If you're renting, you're not saving money. If you're buying, you're kind of saving money.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's a different
Secretly
one.
savings account.
It is, and that's what's so great is you don't get to have that option when you're renting. The only way to save money when you're renting is for you to put it in a checking or a savings account, or risk it in the market, which is a lot more volatile than it is when you put that money into a house that you own.
All right. Well, I thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about first-time home buyers. And we will, well, I just thank you very much for joining me. And if anybody has any questions or anything, leave comments below the video and we'll talk to you soon.
Y'all have a great day.
Thanks.